Yo, I'm Matt,
And I'm Joel,
and we're FringeCraft. Today we're going to be watching a video, UFOs. Retired Navy commander describes his sighting in 2004. This is an NBC News, the overview segment, and the full episode is something from Peacock TV, which is like a streaming service that NBC News offers, and this is a recently released video from 3 days ago, and it further expands on David Fravor's incident in a way that I felt was very explanatory that maybe we didn't cover as well during our last segment.
the Joe Rogan episode.
Yeah, the Joe Rogan episode. And, there's some visualizations here that I think are really helpful. So,
All right, guys, if you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment below and check out the video we did last time on David Fravor's interview with Joe Rogan.
yeah. And, let us know what you think. But let's get into the video.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the SA. My gosh.
These 3 videos, released by the Department of Defense, have changed the way many people see what we can't explain.
The moment you mention UFO, immediately what comes to mind are little green men, tinfoil hats. That's not at all what we're dealing with.
In 2004, off the coast of California, an F-18 Super Hornet training exercise was suddenly interrupted by a call over the radio that would come to define Commander David Fravor's career.
You know, there's certain things in your life where you just remember in vivid detail what happened. And that's one of them, because it's honestly the strangest, most obscure thing I've ever seen flying.
Fravor, the commanding officer of the Navy's Strike Fighter Squadron 41, and another F-18 scrambled to check out an unusual radar blip 80 miles off the coast.
So as we're looking around, the backseater in the other airplane comes up and says, "Hey, Skipper, do you see?" And before he says it, I'm like, "Dude, do you see that?" As soon as we look down, we see the whitewater, and then we see this little white tic-tac. It's pointing north-south, and it's just going forward, back, left, right.
It's just bouncing around?
Yeah, like a ping pong ball.
What was its shape? What was its, what did it look like it was made out of?
Like a perfectly smooth white tic-tac. Or for people that need a bigger visualization, a giant propane tank.
Fravor says the F-18s began circling, Fravor at 20,000 feet, and the so-called tic-tac only about 50 feet above the surface of the water.
And I say, "Hey, I'm gonna go check this thing out." And the other pilot stays and says, "Hey, I'm gonna stay up high." And then it starts coming up at us. We call it two-circle fight, but it's coming up, I'm coming down. So it literally is aware we're there. There's no doubt, because it mirrored me. So here it is. I cut across, and I get to about half mile of it, so I'm about halfway across the circle. As it gets in front of me, it just goes poof, and it's gone. And it's gone like that fast.
What do you mean, poof, it's gone?
I mean, exactly that. Like, it's 1 minute it's there, and the next second, it's like magic trick. So I asked the other airplane, I said, "Hey, do you guys see that?" And they're like, "It's gone. It just disappeared."
When you saw this kind of performance, what was the first thing that went through your mind?
What the hell was that?
Once back on the carrier, Fravor's team told the next crew what had happened, and that crew took off ready to capture something on camera. And this is what they saw.
I guess the biggest question is, what do you think it is?
I honestly don't know. I don't think that we have developed that technology. I don't think we developed it on this planet. We still, to this day, have no idea what it was, what we saw, what we chased, what we engaged. But it was pretty spectacular.
So I think that this is maybe a better illustration because there's actually illustrations to show
Oh yeah, I liked that a lot.
the maneuvers that were going on, and it kind of makes more sense out of the situation, which maybe just a verbal account of it wasn't the greatest. And then the video was from another set of pilots that took off and went to go check out what was going on. And so that's the video that we go over in our previous commentary on it. And obviously, like, the Pentagon has released this as something that is real. And recently they've released some other stuff, which maybe we might want to cover. But like, that you had talked about that some kind of plane was buzzed by. I mean,
Oh, that
the air.
pyramid thing. Yeah, that's a very short video, but we can cover that as well.
Yeah, and not just that. There's I think several like there's another incident over Virginia or the waters off off the coast of the eastern seaboard where uh there were like three objects in succession that the pilot caught pictures of with his iPhone, which I think they're basically Lou Elizondo or someone was saying like these days it's normal or more okay to say that you saw something that you don't know what it was, whereas maybe in the past it might have been.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think having video evidence is going to give you a lot more confidence to go say like, "Hey, this is crazy." It doesn't sound as much like you're just trying to get attention because you were armed with a video. And,
Yeah.
like I think people do have that fear that, hey, it's going to look like I'm trying to get attention. I'm going to come off like an unstable person.
Yeah, that I think that's even the greater fear is that you come off like a lunatic.
Yeah, but when you have a video supporting your claim, then it doesn't come off that way.
Yeah.
And they may even be able to look at the video and be like, nah, dude, that's a balloon, you
Yeah.
know? But at least you don't look crazy.
Yeah, I agree. And so I just find it really interesting that kind of this stuff. And it's interesting that it's also coming out around the time that this unclassified report's coming out.
Oh, yeah, we've still got, 2 more months on that, I believe.
Yeah, it's supposed to come out in June, though. It might be delayed, is what I've heard. So we'll see what happens. And I guess let's get back into the video. But it's just I really like how this was illustrated. And you also see that young picture of, Commander Fravor from earlier. And you realize, like, he was one of those, like, maverick kind of... He's pretty high up. That's one thing you realize.
He was a commander.
Yeah, well, he's a commander of a squadron, right? Or I think that's the terminology. He's like, what? Only a few ranks are above him, or positions are above him. Yeah. So, all right, let's keep watching.
A report from that incident eventually made its way to the Pentagon and crossed the desk of Louis Elizondo, the former director of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program.
In essence, what that program was an investigatory body looking at what we call the UAP, probably in the vernacular, it's better known as the UFO phenomenon. The bottom line here is that over the past several decades, we in the Department of Defense and the intelligence community have been noticing things in our airspace that don't have wings, they don't have cockpits, they don't have even an obvious sign of propulsion like an engine, and yet still they're able to defy the natural effects of Earth's gravity.
In 2020, the Pentagon declassified 3 videos, the Tic Tac video and 2 others filmed on the East Coast in January of 2015. Other countries have made similar public disclosures. Also in 2004, the Mexican Air Force confirmed this video was shot by one of their pilots near the coast of Baja California.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 en la pantalla.
In 2014, a helicopter from the Chilean Navy locked onto an unidentified object emitting what appeared to be some sort of gas or vapor. Both governments have said they investigated but couldn't determine what the objects were. To those like science writer Sarah Scholes, clipped black and white videos always leave a lot to the imagination.
To me, the most interesting thing about the videos is how little information is in them. All we have are these, 30 seconds or a minute of something totally decontextualized. And so everybody kind of gets to think whatever they want to think about them because we don't actually have enough information to form any kind of conclusion, which is UFO's favorite space to live in, the muddy, fuzzy space.
But will 2021 be the year all of that changes because of COVID-19?
Hidden among the many pages of the COVID-19 bill is this mandate to produce a report on unidentified aerial phenomena. What's different this time is that the military is kind of talking about them very explicitly in terms of threats. It's not like the Pentagon's deal to call things aliens, but that's kind of the angle they're coming from.
If there is a foreign adversary, let's say Russian or China or anybody else, who happens to have this technology and they've had it for decades, and we in the United States have somehow been strategically leapfrogged in our technology, we've got a big problem on our hands.
Officially, the clause attached to December's COVID-19 relief bill, added by the Senate Intelligence Committee, calls for the military and FBI to brief committee members on what they know about UAPs within 180 days of the bill's passing. The kind of top-level briefings Elizondo says he's given before.
The three options are, is it our technology? Is it foreign adversarial technology or someone else's technology? Or is it something completely different? We're 99% sure it's not foreign adversarial technology. So that only leaves really one other option. It's someone or something else.
Are these three videos the only videos that you know of that the United States government has that shows unidentified aerial phenomenon?
No, absolutely not. These are probably some of the least compelling videos. In some cases, we've seen these things 50 feet away from the cockpit.
And when you're talking about something that is 50 feet away, I mean, what could they tell from being 50 feet away?
With all due respect, Gotti, I no longer work for the United States government in that capacity. So I want to be clear that I don't want to speak on behalf of the U.S. government. And I also want to give the government time to do what it needs to do regarding this data.
But in science, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
If the UFO field wants to be taken more seriously by scientists, I think they will kind of have to move away from the types of evidence that have historically been held up as adequate, like individual sightings, because the scientists can't really do anything with the story. They need data.
Look, I'm not a UFO guy. My background, I'm a former counterintelligence special agent. I was asked to do a job, which I did. However, it was my understanding and the conclusions that I came to, and by the way, every other person in the program unanimously came to the realization that these things are indeed real.
So something I just want to bring up is the lady is like really like saying like this isn't science and this is, like one thing she said earlier in the video is like these, we're getting all these black and white videos that are decontextualized and blah blah blah. It's like they're infrared cameras, so it's basically like I think it's more reasonable because it's not just some like light being reflected somewhere. It's literally something putting off heat.
Well, she's the one trying to have,
not putting off heat.
I'm the reasonable one viewpoint or whatever.
Yeah, but that's less reasonable than to say there's some object that's, this is not normal. And I understand what she's saying, but if she doesn't understand the instruments and instrumentalities are being used to like observe this, and then you don't get a color HD picture, but you do get something that I think it's harder to say that these black and white, specifically the IR videos are not real. And another thing she said is they're decontextualized. That's why David Fravor's there talking for like however long, literally contextualizing
trying to contextualize it.
Like
that's the thing. It's like, who's going to be filming all day and then they see a UFO?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, UFOs, by their very nature, are decontextualized. They're an unknown object. The context is, what's it doing there?
Yeah, what is it?
Everyone's that's, when you see a UFO, that's what you think. Everyone thinks that
it's unidentified.
Yeah, that's the entire phenomenon. But Lou Elizondo always just makes me like, oh, does he have it? I feel like he's gonna be one of those people that never delivers, but I guess we'll see in June.
Well, he's basically said that these are the least compelling videos that got released.
But is he just trying to string us along?
Who knows?
I hope not.
I hope not also, because I'd like to see, one way or the other, I want to see more evidence for or against. I'd just like to see more about it, because clearly he's saying they have it, and I'd like to see it. And, one thing is I want to get to the truth, and I want to see what is there, like specifically the evidence. And another thing this lady was saying, like science works in like calculations. It's like, but to create the calculations, there needs to be something observable in the first, like observable, even mentally, it needs to be observable, right? So like,
I would just not pay attention to what she was saying, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I disagree with a lot of what she said, but I like this video for these other bits that I think are super invaluable. Like, Another video that I thought was great was that the Mexican army or navy saw the objects.
Oh yeah,
and they were counting off
they're
how
like
many.
7 or 8 of them,
Eight,
big
yeah.
orbs.
Yeah,
That was a cool one.
and the Chilean helicopter picking up something at the Chilean navy. I mean, that's notice how many like militaries are picking these things up. Like I find it really interesting because again, they use instruments, not like just a regular
just a
camera
camera,
to film these. So if you catch something on infrared, there's some kind of like heat phenomena going on there. It's not just like, I don't know, a speck in the air moving around. Like there's something that is either not putting off heat or is putting off heat. And if it leaves a trail, you can see the trail. If it doesn't leave a trail, you'll see that it doesn't leave a trail. I think that's really compelling. And, I find this really interesting. But
let's keep going.
yeah, let's finish up this video.
And it's getting increasingly harder to keep the cat in the bag.
Do you ever think that you're going to see something like that again in your lifetime?
I don't know. I look up a lot. I mean, I'm not lying. On a clear night, you just look up and wonder. And I'll wander for the rest of my life. I think everyone does.
Oh, is it? I wouldn't go so far as to say everyone wonders. Certainly us fringe crafters do, but
Yeah,
I think a lot of people just don't have a thought about it one way or the other.
I have to agree. I think some people don't. I actually do think it's more part of the pop culture that, kind of the idea of aliens and stuff like that. But I don't think it's something that people actively think about. Like, is this real? Or, that they know, like, these events that have gone on, like the David Fravor incident or
They're like research into the lore. Well, that's part of what our job is, though, is make sure people know
Yeah.
the good content. And
One day
the
when
background.
this does become mainstream, we'll have been covering it for years and we'll be able to say, look, yeah, like this was fringe at one point. Literally.
Yeah, when your 6th grade science class is all about UFOs, they'll watch FringeCraft.
Yeah, exactly. Like, these guys knew something was up. So, well, I really enjoyed that video, and I hope Joel did too.
Oh, I loved it. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I thought NBC News did a great job, like, putting that together. Again, I like the visualizations. You see how it mirrored as he was, like, traveling down to it, and, it really gives you a good understanding of what happened. So,
Yeah, I'm yawning.
well, that's all I have. So, I've been Matt.
And I'm Joel.
And
we're
FringeCraft.
FringeCraft. See you guys.
Later, guys.